Who Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to everyone who's joining us on Zoom and live on Facebook this evening. My name is Tony Mercado, and I'm Valley Water's neighborhood liaison for the Rinconada Water Treatment Plant, and I will be your MC for the evening. Right now, I'm going to go over just some general information for you. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on Valley Water's YouTube channel in the coming days, with the link available on the project's website. We do plan to end this meeting at 8 p.m., depending on the number of questions that come in during our Q&A portion of the meeting with Valley Water staff. In just a few minutes here, I'm going to attempt to share my screen here and go over some of the abilities for you the ways that you will be able to ask questions of our staff. And that should be right up there in front of your screen. So I know that some of you may have already be familiar with Zoom. So this will be for the benefit of those who don't use this tool very often. If you are having issues with your audio, please go ahead and call in using the number that has been provided on your screen and on the webinar ID. That phone number is 1-669-900-9128. The ID is 817-7328-3540. If you'd like to submit a question or comment during the Q&A, you can do so by clicking on the Q&A portal that's located on the bottom of your screen and typing in your question. You can also use the raise your hand function on the toolbar to ask your question so we can all hear you. Once you raise your hand, we can enable your microphone and you can unmute yourself to ask your question. We do ask that you don't use the chat function on the questions because then the question can actually get buried very fast, and we want to make sure that we are able to keep track of everything that's come in and asked during the meeting. For those watching on Facebook, we do have a member of our Office of Communications monitoring the site. So you are able to ask your question in the comment section of the video screen, and our staff will relay that question to the project team. Finally, if you're tuning in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute yourself. So that is it for the housekeeping. I'm sure you didn't tune in to listen to me too much, so I'm going to jump into the meeting right away. And I would like to introduce our Water Utility Capital Division Deputy Operating Officer, Keith McMahon. Keith, go ahead, right.
Keith, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, all right, there I am. Sorry about that. All right, thank you, Tony. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We appreciate you being here tonight in this virtual setting as we prepare to start 2 new projects at the plant. One will focus on site improvements and the other on upgrading the way we manage sludge from the water treatment process. In their own way, both play an important role in Valley Water's mission to ensure every facet of our infrastructure remains up to date and reliable. We'll detail the work, the schedule, and how we plan to offset some of the potential impacts that come with construction. We welcome your questions at the end of our presentation, and if we can't get your answer right now, we'll work to get those and follow up with those on you. So at this time, I also wanted to acknowledge Director Shua that is here in attending the meeting. So I want to thank her for her continued support of critical projects that we're doing throughout the district, and especially this one at Rinconada Water Treatment Plant. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the unit manager for the project delivery team for the water treatment plants, Brandon Ponce.
Thank you, Heath, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time tonight. A few years ago, this would be part of our meeting where we would get together outside of our conference room, and we would go on a quick plant tour to show you in person the progress that we've made since we started the plant upgrades. I am hopeful that we can do that again soon. But from our virtual world, I can tell you that the Rinconada Water Treatment Plant has undergone some dramatic improvements, including, but not limited to, seismic improvements to the operations building, a new electrical building to help power the plant, a new wash water recovery facility to help recycle unused water during the treatment process, flocculation and sedimentation basins, which allow particles to mix and settle to form sludge and separate from the water. These were all critical upgrades. Now we move on to another phase of work at the plant. Tonight, Associate Engineer May Siendo will talk to us about the site restoration project. Our contractors are already beginning to mobilize their staging areas, although actual boots on the ground work won't start until later this month. Next, Senior Engineer Patrick Carter is also here to detail the residuals management project, which is scheduled for later this fall. Before I turn it over to May, I'd like to introduce Patrick Carter, who will be going over the truck haul routing.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So the truck hauling route comes off of 17 to Winchester Boulevard and then till Knowles, Pollard, and Upmore Avenue into our Lower Moore Gate at the Rinconada Water Treatment Plant. Next slide, please. And truck routing throughout the plant, like I mentioned before, will come in this Lower Moore Gate and make its way through the plant. At this time, we will not have major construction traffic going out of Granada Gate. That's a change from our previous projects, and these projects are small enough that we're able to close that off to construction traffic. So with that, Brandon, I'll turn it back to you.
So thank you, Patrick. Next, I'd like to introduce May Siendo, our project manager for the interim site restoration project. Take it away, May.
Thank you, Brandon. Good evening, neighbors and members of the community. My name is May Siendo. I am an associate engineer in the water treatment plant delivery unit. I have been in the district for the past 12 years. I'll be presenting to you the Rinconada Water Treatment Plant interim site restoration, where my main role and responsibility is the project manager. Next slide, please, Jada. The main purpose of the interim site restoration project is to perform transitional work necessary to support Rinconada Water Treatment Plant up 24/7 operation. This transition period is between the newly completed phase 1 and 2 and the future phase 3 to 6. The interim project supports Valley Water's mission of providing Silicon Valley safe, clean water for a healthy life, environment, and economy. Construction of this project has been recently awarded to NTK Construction. The project was awarded for the sum of $2.6 million. Next slide, please, Jada. Thank you. Construction scope of work includes paving and grading and stabilization of disturbed roadways. Road areas will be restored and slope surfaces will be protected. There are also work to install the stormwater infrastructure to complete the tie-in to the drainage system. All these activities will contribute to prevent soil erosion, sediment transport, and containment of water runoffs within the areas of the treatment plant. Next slide, please. Once these activities are completed and the site has been restored, the temporary sump pumps will be removed. There are other miscellaneous improvements included in this project, such as the addition of a new ramp into the detention basin, as well as mechanical improvements associated with process pumps and piping. Next slide, please. As Brandon had mentioned earlier, the contractor had begun mobilization at the site, and construction is scheduled at the end of the month. So the project schedule, we will start construction on site fall 2021. We hope to finish most of the major work, which are paving and drainage work, by winter 2021. And if as scheduled, we'll complete the project in spring 2022. That completes my presentation of the interim site restoration project. Patrick, you're next.
Okay, thanks, May. My name is Patrick Carter. I'm the project manager for the Residuals Remediation project. And next slide, please. So some project background. The Rinconada Water Treatment Plant solids management system will be upgraded to improve the solids handling, improve redundancy, and meet Rinconada's future water demands. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of the project. The blue facilities or facilities shaded in blue are existing, and the facilities in orange and green are new ones that we're going to be constructing. The construction cost is $26.4 million, and it was awarded to Kiewit Infrastructure West. Next slide, please. So the project schedule will be breaking ground in fall 2021. This winter, we hope to have all the yard piping and underground work completed. And in fall 2022, approximately a year from now, we'll have our large sludge storage tanks built and do some improvements in an existing building, as well as modify our conveyor and loadout systems. And then in spring 2023, we will close out the project. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of the existing process. As Brandon was talking about earlier, this system treats the sludge that is a byproduct of water treatment. So the sludge comes from the other processes throughout the plant to these two large circular tanks on the right called gravity thickeners. There, the solids are thickened by gravity and pumped into the square building in the middle of the screen, which houses two centrifuges. These centrifuges spin at a high speed and separate the water from the sludge and produce what's called a dry sludge cake. And you can see a truck in the lower middle portion of the photo, and it is loaded with sludge and will be taken out to a landfill. The building all the way to the left with the red roof was a former belt press building. That was an old process. We're actually repurposing that building for this project and placing two more centrifuges in there. So we're utilizing existing infrastructure at the plant. And all the way on the left of the existing wash water recovery basins are where our two large sludge storage tanks will go. So next slide, please. So for this project, the district's designer used a 3D model to help lay out the system to begin with, and then actually did the fine detail in this Revit model. So on the right are the two large sludge storage tanks that I spoke of earlier. They have mixers to keep the sludge well mixed. And then as we move to the left of the screen, the building without a roof on it, the roof was just removed for visual purposes here, is where the two new centrifuges will go. And the loadout structure, which is in the middle of the screen, is an existing facility. We'll be modifying that and adding on to accept dry solids from both the existing centrifuge building and now this new centrifuge building. So next slide. So this is an inside view of the building that we're going to be modifying. We're going to take out some walls, take out a bathroom, put in these two large centrifuges. They're about 8 feet off the ground right here. And then also install these two tanks on the left, which are polymer tanks. That's a chemical that's added when the centrifuges are in operation to help create a drier solid. So next slide. And here's just another view. On the right are those two tanks I was talking about, the polymer tanks. And this is the conveyor load out structure that will load the trucks for off haul. Next slide. So the project goals, the current capacity of the plant is 80 mgd. With the addition of the 2 new centrifuges, that will give us redundancy and reliability of the system so that in the event one centrifuge is down for maintenance, we'll have ample backup to continue producing water at our 80 mgd. That's something that we strive for in the water treatment processes is redundancy. We're also going to increase the operational flexibility. We can take one whole building down for maintenance and use the other building. So that's about it for this slide. Next slide. And so the implementation of both of these projects will help the district continue to maintain a safe, reliable, and high quality water supply for the Santa Clara community. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much to the project team for this presentation. We've now gotten into the Q&A portion of our meeting. And so I'd like to also thank the people who have been joining us on Facebook. We have a handful of people who are joining us, which is nice considering that we are all in a virtual environment. And this is the first virtual meeting that we're doing for the Rinconada Water Treatment Plant. So you are welcome now to submit your questions into the Q&A box, and we can start addressing any of those questions for you. Prior to the meeting, in the days before, we have received some questions via email and phone calls from some the neighbors. So if they're online, thank you very much for those questions. And I'm going to be putting them toward the project team right now. One of the concerns that most of the neighbors have consistently been asking through this project is about truck traffic. And with a Rolling Hills Middle School nearby, there have been questions about how the district can ensure the safety of the children with the truck traffic that's going to be coming through, and whether the restrictions that have been in place in past years will continue to be in place with the start of this work. So for that, I'm going to turn that over to Patrick Carter.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, the historic trucking restrictions by Rolling Hills Middle School will stay in place for these two projects. And just to recap those, there will be no trucks while school is in session between 8 and 9 a.m. Allowed through that intersection. And then again, 1/2 hour before school is out to 1/2 hour after school is out, trucks will not be allowed through that intersection. So.
Thanks, Patrick. I think that's going to be something folks are going to be happy to hear. We do have one hand raised, so we're going to be enabling your mic so that you can ask your question.
So Tony, this is Albert. It looks like Paul Kaufman has an older version of Zoom. I will have to promote him to be a panelist first so that he can ask his question verbally. So Paul, just hang tight.
Okay. In the meantime, I can go with another question, Albert. So this is a question actually related, for some more clarification, related to the Granada Gate entrance. In previous years, that gate has been used for truck deliveries and such. Can you tell us what role the Granada Gate is going to be playing in this upcoming construction and in future projects?
Yeah, the majority of the construction traffic will not go through Granada Gate for these two projects, with the exception of large loads that would require the use of that gate due to turning radiuses throughout the plant. And we only anticipate that for a couple items, construction trailers, cranes, and such. So there will be no in and out traffic for contractors. The plant operations will still be able to use those we will still be able to use that Granada Gate for their plant operations, which include chemical trucks and sludge trucks, but that's no change from its current operation. So.
Okay, great. Another question that has come in regarding Granada Way. There's that dirt area, that unlandscaped area that is near the Granada Way gate entrance. Is that going to be used for placement of any equipment or a staging area? And also along those lines, in years past, there's been talk about landscaping that area at the Granada Way entrance. Is that still going to be taking place?
There will be no equipment permanently staged down at that area for these two projects. So what was the other part of the question?
Just about in years past, there's been questions about whether there will be some landscaping that was going to be done along Granada Way near that gate entrance to help kind of shield the neighborhood from some of the work that's going to be going on near the plant. Is that still a plan that is being considered?
That's considered for future projects, but not contemplated at this time.
Okay.
Tony, just quickly, Paul, he's on our video side with the panelists. Listen here, his device has a microphone that's active. So Paul, if you can see the chat box or chat button on your toolbar, it will enable a chat box. Feel free to enter your question via chat if you can. Go ahead, Tony. We'll work it through with Paul and we'll get his question asked somehow.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks. So with the two projects that are going to be going on, at what points of the project can we, the neighborhood, expect the most inconvenience in regards to noise and or traffic?
It's hard to say which one, but I can tell you that the heaviest truck traffic will be in September, October, and November of this year. That's our off haul for the demo of one of those wash water ponds. And as far as noise, construction noise, all of these projects are well within the plant boundaries. So we aren't going to be working up against our plant perimeter that would cause excessive noise out into the neighborhood.
Okay, thanks. I did get an interesting question that came in. Are drones currently being used to patrol or survey the land? One resident has heard one several times and is wondering if that is coming from the actual treatment plant. And are there plans to use drones during construction?
Not for these projects. For previous projects, we did have a drone that was taking overhead photos only of the construction work, and they had their specific license that was required to do that, and we're not allowed to take photos outside of the plant boundaries. But no drones have been used in the planning or design or thus far on either one of these projects.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Albert, is Paul available to?
Yeah. Paul asked, he has two questions. He asked the first of his questions. I think he's still typing the second one, but first, Paul, just applaud our work to improve water quality. And his question is, how do you plan to minimize noise, such as the constant beeping when trucks are in reverse? That's his first question.
Yeah, it's something we dealt with in the past, and if there is, so those backup beepers are required by OSHA on all construction equipment. There's a way that we can mitigate that sound a little bit with, I think it's called a duck quacker. Instead of a beep, it makes a softer quacking sound. So that's something we can work with the contractors with if their equipment is near the plant boundaries. So we'll take note of that.
Great, and then Paul's working on a second question. So I'll flag it down for you, Tony, once I have that.
Okay. Another question that came in was actually during any period of construction, will the treatment plant be open for tours to at least be able to view the construction that is going on? And if not, when will tours be offered again?
Gonna throw that to Brandon or
Maybe Steve, you want to help us with that question? We have Steve Twitchell here. He's our treatment plant supervisor at Rinconada.
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, right now we're not doing any tours due to COVID. Once we get over the hump, the plan is to work with PIO and other teaching organizations to start the touring again. So yes, to answer your question, yes, we will be doing tours. I don't have a time frame because we just don't know when this COVID situation is going to be over with. But the plan is, yes, to do so.
That's great. We have been getting some questions from parents wondering when that would be able to happen. And we all know that the treatment plant tours are very, very popular. And they've had the requests pile up once we're able to do that. One question in relation to our mitigation efforts. When it comes to noise, will there be sound readings that are going to be taken at any point during this work to ensure that it does not carry over into the neighborhood?
yeah, not for this project. Again, this is well within the plant boundaries, and we don't have staging areas on the outskirts. Also, there's no activities that would be extremely loud, such as pile driving or that activities of that nature. So
I have a question that I see has come in. Oh, thank you, Patrick. That has come in from one of our neighbors. Do we have a slide that shows the overall schedule of the project so that the neighbors can get an idea of when this project will actually be complete? Not sure if they're referring essentially to these two projects, but if we have a timeline or at least some clarification for those.
yeah, the interim project will be finishing up in the winter of this year. So that will be done. And then I got it right here in front of me. The residuals project is scheduled to end in spring of 2023. So we do have a slide. It's slide 13. So.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. One question in regards as a follow-up is that this project has taken a long time, and it is in regards to the larger overall project that we have for reliability, and would like to know what the timeline is for that particular schedule.
Tony, you want to answer that one, or?
Well, what I can provide an answer for is, and I think Brandon actually tapped on this on a little bit. The reliability improvement project is the larger overall project that Valley Water is doing there at Rinconada. It is started in 2015 and was divided into, I believe, five phases, and we've completed 2 of the phases thus far. And it was a huge milestone when they actually were able to complete the second phase, just because of all the work that was done. Brandon tapped into some of the improvements to the operations building, the new electrical building to help power the plant, the new wash water recovery facility. The next phase is scheduled to start up next year. I know that the project team is currently evaluating and seeking out contractors who are the most qualified for us to do the next phase of the work. And again, that is scheduled to start next year at some point.
And Tony, it's Albert. For those wondering, in the world of Zoom and Facebook Live, this is Albert with Office Communications. I'm the man behind the curtain sometimes with Zoom. Just a quick little note. I think Paul is working on a second question. So Paul, if you hear us, just feel free to chat it to us. And then I do see your hand raised. And then you have a question in the Q&A portal. Feel free to ask that. If you need help, I can also ask it as well.
Yes, there is a question. Thank you, Albert. There is a question here from one of our neighbors, and his question is, there was once a plan to demolish the old existing settling building and upgrade it. Is this still a plan in the future? That might be a question for you, Brandon.
So that's referring to the reliability improvement project. We are working on an effort to repackage that project And we were looking to put that out towards the end of next year. And as we get closer and get more information, we will work with you, Tony, to put that information out and or hold another meeting to go over those in more detail.
Great. Thank you, Albert. And thank you, Mr. Richard Matthews, for posing that question to us. We do appreciate it. Let's see, I'm looking to see if there's any more questions in the Q&A box. Not seeing any, but I will go back to my list of the questions that have come in.
I do have one raised hand on the attendee side, Tony.
Oh, okay.
So this is coming from a phone number ending in 8382. I'm going to enable your microphone. Please press, I think it's *6 to unmute yourself. So it's phone number ending in 8382. I see that your hand is raised. Press *6 to unmute yourself, or if it's maybe *9, perhaps. I could be getting those numbers mixed up. Caller, you are enabled on the microphone. Please unmute yourself. If not, we'll come back to you in a bit. All right, Tony, go ahead and just move on to the next question. Hopefully the person can unmute themselves in a bit here.
Okay, Silver. This is also related to our trucks. Can we make sure that trucks do not idle in the neighborhood while waiting to enter the gates at the Rinconada plant? Sometimes they have a tendency to sit on the streets, and that can be quite a disturbance. What options are available to us?
So we do have weekly meetings with both of our different contractors that are contracted to do these two projects. What we can do is communicate that every week to our contractors. We also have full-time inspectors that will be on site and that can help enforce that.
Thanks, Brandon. Another question that has come in is actually in regards to the outreach that we've been doing with our public meetings, and they'd like to know, the question is, they have used to enjoy coming out to the plant and holding, touring our plant, obviously, and holding our meetings. How soon before we can actually get back to holding in-person meetings? And I can answer that. I believe, as Steve Twitchell, our plant supervisor, referenced, a lot of it really will depend on the conditions that are going on with COVID. Right now, we are conducting virtual meetings. We've been experimenting with doing in-person hybrid meetings, but for the time being, we're going to be still doing the virtual meetings. And believe me, we would love to be in person because it was always nice to be able to reach out to people and talk to people in person. And hopefully we can do that soon. But for the time being, we will be doing virtual meetings. We do plan to maybe do them at this point. Maybe we used to do them 4 times a year. And I think now we've drawn that back to twice a year. So look for potential meetings, the next meeting in spring of 2022. And of course, they will be held as needed if we need to. So, okay. Anything else that has come in?
I still see this phone caller who has raised their hand, and their microphone is enabled. If they press *6, they can unmute themselves to ask their question. If not, I will try texting them directly to see if I can get their question on my end. But as of right now, I don't see any other raised hands.
Okay. I'll go to one of the last questions that we have in regards to the upcoming projects. Will this work be causing any excessive dust into the neighborhood? And if so, if we have cars that are dirty, is there going to be any kind of effort to clean cars on the part of the district if cars get inundated with dust?
So part of the contractor scope is to provide a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And part of that is dust mitigation. So during activities that create a lot of dust, they have to apply water or other dust mitigation. And then as far as off haul out of the plant, We call that track out when dust gets out of the plant. We do have street sweepers and also implemented construction entrance and exit, which is designed to knock off some of that dust before it gets out into the street. So that's what we're doing on the construction side. Tony or someone else, maybe they can speak to the car washing part.
Yes, in years past, we have not actually done any car washing or any, only because the extent of dust in the neighborhood has not been to such an excessive level. We do the consistent street cleaning, so that has helped to offset a lot of the dust in the neighborhood. So that's not something that we have done in the past. So I think we're still waiting for Paul, then Albert.
Yeah, Paul, Mr. Coughlin, I'm assuming you're on you might have called in as well on top of being on the Zoom meeting. It looks like you're on the phone. Go ahead and press *6 on your phone, sir, if that's you. That should unmute you. There you go. Now we hear you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello, this is,
Oh, I heard you, Paul.
can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I submitted 2 questions. You answered one, I think, relative to the noise factor with trucks. And the second question I had, can you hear me still?
Yes, sir.
The second question I had was, I live in the southeast portion where the 2 ponds end, and that's in the past been used as a staging area with a lot of things that are kind of unsightly sitting there for a long period of time. I hope you have plans not to use this for staging area in this project and the upcoming project.
Right. So right now, space is very limited at our treatment plant, and so right now, the plan is we may need to store material there, and what we can do is, we can work with you kind of at a later date to see if maybe we could screen that somehow. But
Well, I mean, screening it doesn't solve the problem. Screening it just blocks me from it. You have 43 acres. I'm not so sure why this section, which is within 25 feet of my house, is an area you need to store stuff. So you have plenty of room in your facility. So, I would hope you would understand that we're neighbors, and it's best if you store your stuff that's mostly unsightly to a neighbor in a part of your plant where it's not visible.
so we will look at that, and then we can get back to you.
All right, but I don't view screening as a viable option. That just puts an ugly screen in front of ugly materials.
Okay, point taken, and we can look at the available areas that we have on our site, and then we can take it from there.
All right, thank you for considering it. And I look forward to working with you on it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Paul, for your call, and I'll make sure to reach out to you offline as well to see what we can do to help things out. I do not see any more questions. I've run through the questions that I have that have come in. Albert, anything coming in on your end that's outstanding?
Nothing on my end, but just a heads up to Paul. I'll be moving you back to the attendee side in case your Zoom flickers a little bit. Since we do have your phone now, in case you have other questions, we'll be able to recognize where you are.
Okay. So seeing no more questions from the audience or none coming in from Facebook. Okay, then in that case, I will thank the project team for the presentation and our attendees especially for your questions. If we have any open unanswered questions, we'll make sure to follow up with you on them as well. So before I turn things over to our Director Nai Shui for the final word, I just want to remind everyone that if you have any questions or concerns from tonight's presentation, or during even the course of the project, you can always email me at tmercado@valleywater.org. That information is on our project webpage. You can also call me on my personal cell phone. That number is also on our construction signs there at the plant, and that's 408-426-1039. And I give my number out just so to make sure that we're constantly available for you in case you need it. So at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Director Shui. Director Shui.
Oh, thank you, Tony. First of all, I want to thank all the neighbors for taking time from your day to participate in today's meeting. I personally have attended these community meetings for the last several years. We had a hiatus during the COVID-19, but now with the two interim project that's starting construction very soon, we will resume our continued regular meetings with you so that information is clearly passed on, and then your questions can be raised to us. I remember that during those meetings before COVID-19 that particularly during the construction of the first two phases of the Rinconada reliability project, many of our process improvement during construction was due to your questions or your suggestions. So thank you very much, and we hope that you can be continuous with your engagement with us on these two projects, and then after the completion of these two projects, we will come back with the remaining phases, phase 3 to 5 or 6. I think it's for construction, it's 5, phase 3 to 5 of the larger Rinconada reliability project. Definitely these community meetings will continue, and so I thank you in advance for your engagement with us. Since I have the platform, I do want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that Santa Clara County and the entire state, basically the entire state of California, is in severe drought. Our board called on everyone and the businesses in Santa Clara County to reduce water use by 15%. Compared to the 2019 water usage. To help all of us to achieve that, Valley Water offer many incentive programs and educational programs to help the community to achieve the 15% reduction goal. So please visit our website. We have a very simple way to get to all these incentive programs. Visit watersavings.org. You can go directly into our water conservation program. So for example, that starting July 1st, we have increased our lawn conversion incentive to $2 per square foot. With a maximum of $3,000 per household. So that's a very good opportunity for us to do something so that on an ongoing basis, water conservation is part of our way of living. If we convert our lawn, water thirsty lawn to drought tolerant California native landscape, that's a way of life in California and in Santa Clara County. It's a sustainable way of living in California. So I just want to take this opportunity to remind everybody, and hopefully you'll take the opportunity for our incentive program and education program. Again, thank you very much for participating tonight. Also, I want to thank our staff for doing a good job with this presentation. Thank you and good night. I guess I'll turn it back to Tony.
Thank you very much, Director. We appreciate your words and your message as well. There are some questions that did come up from Mr. Bruce Fredrickson before we leave. He would just like a little bit more clarification, and Brandon, this question will probably direct it to you, when actually all of the projects, the phases at Rinconada will be completed, just so we can provide some clarification when we're talking about the two interim projects. Mr. Ferguson is actually asking about the entirety of the work there at Rinconada.
So right now we're still working on the project schedule for the next phase of the reliability project, but it's the best guess that we have right now. It's going to be in 2026. And we will keep everyone informed as we get more information.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. He is asking if you could repeat that, please, a little bit more clearly. I think it was a little bit muffled.
So right now it looks like the next phase of the reliability project will take until 2026 to complete. That is the best estimate that we have right now. We are working on that, and as we get more information, we will provide that. And next year, when the redesign is done, we will know more.
Great, thank you, Brandon. There is one last question that I received here in the chat from Merrick, and I do see your question regarding roots affecting your wooden fence, and some response to that. I will reach out to you, give you a call right after the meeting and follow up and see if we can get that taken care of for you. After that, thank you very much, everyone. This concludes our meeting.